Welcome to the India exit interview. It's been truly a trip of a lifetime. There is so much to see and do in India, and we hope we have shown you just a bit of how much you can get up to there. From our halfway point video we made about 3 months ago, we proceeded onward to Madurai, Pondicherry, Sadhana Forest, Oroville, Chennai, Visakhapatnam, Bhubaneswar, Puri, Kolkata, Varanasi, Lucknow, Jalandhar, Amritsar, Chandigarh, Vrindavan, Agra, Ramnagar, Nainital, and back to Delhi on our way out. We learned so much about many different folks. We picked up snippets of all sorts of different languages and generally had a memorable, beautiful trip. Now, please note that this video has frank discussion of our experience, and some of those things are negatives. But we're not entirely negative about India. We have to tell people about these things, of course, so that if they travel there, someone with more experience now traveling to India like us can help them refine their trip and pick up tips and tricks that they'll use to keep themselves safe. We are not making generalizations about every single Indian person. I'm just relating our own experience with this trip, and I'm doing so as honestly and generously as possible. We love India. We met so many awesome and amazing friends. We had a great time. We had incredible hospitality extended to us, and some other stuff happened that we still think is important to tell you about. As long as you watch yourself and keep an open and firm approach, you're going to be fine. So it's nothing that we really find is insurmountable, but that's for later on in the video. Let's do some easy stuff to start. Budget. Did we stay on budget? The answer is yes. Anticlimactic, I know. It's very easy to stay on budget in India. We spent about $2,000 Canadian a month for 2 people. That was including everything except for flights. So it covered transport, admission, various activities, food, and hotels. Our budget was $12,000 for 6 months, $2,000 a month minus the flights. With flights and everything, it worked out to about another $400 to $500 a month with flights and healthcare, like health insurance and other pre-trip costs. So overall, the trip was gross $2,500 a month on average, with a tiny bit of overage for our own medical and dental stuff thrown in. So overall, we made the entire trip for approximately $16,000. You could do it for cheaper. If you stayed in hostels, you could probably save another $1,000 or $2,000 for 2 people. If you ate real dirt cheap and had lots of temple meals and tried to just keep it all to like 100 rupee or 50 rupee meals, you could do it for another $2,000 cheaper there too. Lots and lots of ways to spend everything you got or almost nothing. But $12,000 for the 6 months in expenses afforded us a great lifestyle. 3-star hotels in nice locations, great food, and a liberal feeling in our approach to spending. So we didn't have to watch it very, very tightly at that level. We just had to make sure we kept it in check. Our medical budget was very good. We didn't have one per se. We were just going to get done what needed to be done. So some dental stuff. I had some dermatology stuff. All of that was cost effective. We saw someone immediately. On average, it's about $16 to $20 to see a specialist, and you get right in and you get a lot of their time and a lot of their expertise. For medical stuff, a quick tip. Basically, you can go to a good neighborhood, find the top-rated doctor. It's honestly that simple. But overall, the rule of thumb for us was find a decent neighborhood. For instance, in Chennai, it was T. Nagar. Excellent neighborhood filled with amazing professionals. Find a higher-rated doctor and drop in on their consulting hours. Very easy to get seen, very easy to get treatment, and the medical system was quick, cheap, and effective, with really good advice. Transport. We ended up spending about our budget, even with some unforeseen increases like missed buses or taking a couple of flights within the country. That was excellent, actually. Transport was generally very cheap. Rickshaw drivers, you get taxis in and around your hotel for a couple bucks, down to the main drag and back. We rented scooters when it was safe to do so. Overall, trains and buses were efficient and easy, but it was also because we had the help of our amazing friend Rakesh Jatiana, who is a travel agent with Jatiana Travels, Elite Travels. So he booked a fair amount of our buses and trains and transport. It was really amazing to have an Indian person helping with this because they can get around the quotas. They just have an understanding of how the systems work together a bit better than we do when we're just going in there. So I was able to book a lot of our own buses and trains. But honestly, the ones that Rakesh got me were much better, and tended to run late less, and were just better quality overall. Sickness. So, yep, we got sick. We got sick about every 5 or 6 weeks for 6 months. The final tally was Natalia got sick 4 times. I got sick 3 times, which is a surprise because usually I'm sick for sure, and Natalia's not even a hint sick. So if it takes someone down who's super strong like Natalia, then we have to issue the warning that yes, being sick is possible. We followed all the rules. We didn't have any drink that wasn't bottled. We almost entirely had no raw vegetables or fruits unless we had tended to them ourselves or peeled them ourselves. There were some exceptions in places like in someone's home, in a homestay, where it looked like everything was super legit and they understood how weak foreigner tummies react to everything. So, yeah, overall I think our sickness just came from the difference in sanitation and maybe contamination with water or other stuff that Indian people are used to dealing with and Westerners are not. If I could leave you with a final tip about sickness, it's the same tip I've given you the whole time. Please, pack antibiotics, pack medicine, follow those rules, eat scorching hot food from busy places, know a little bit about food handling before you get there so you know what to look for as red flags, and the second you are sick, do not assume it'll pass. Get help at a clinic, get help from a doctor, get help from a pharmacist. Please, do something about it, and usually that's going to involve antibiotics. If you're against taking antibiotics, that's cool, but even with antibiotics, it mainly only shortened our sicknesses to about 3 or 4 days, so we still lost a little bit of time just by being sick. Positives. How do I list every individual positive? The beauty, the chaos, the wonder, the awe, the depths of artful creation and expression, the food and snacks, the festivals, the divergent and at once convergent mix of people and languages and backgrounds, the splendor, the grittiness, the incredible and varying climates and scenery and hospitality, the expressions of joy, the persistently sweet and witty senses of humor, the feeling of true human experience fused excitedly with culture shock. I could list off individual buildings and places that live on within me forever with hyper-coded, super enriched dream sequences of magnificence and speechlessness. I could describe 100 dishes that anchor me to my daydreaming self to a fixed moment in time where I marvel at the perfection of flavors and textures that are uniquely India. There are at least 10 beaches with warm ocean water that I can still hear and feel as if I'm still there. The Himalayas and their hill stations, the south, the east, the west, the north. It's all good. I already reminisce about our friends throughout the country where we danced and laughed and had visits. There were folks right in front of us and behind the scenes who were there to help us. Wherever we went, there were these friends in an epic, culture-rich, generous, truly special land. There is so much to explore and see. It is worth a visit if you feel moved to go. Let's get the real talk out of the way. These are the things that on average happened a fair amount more often and are notable to mention. When you go to the store, on the back of every package in India, there is a maximum retail price printed. Now, a lot of times the stores go beneath this, but it's sort of like a suggested retail price in North America. Except in India, it's unlawful to charge any more than this, unless you're a reseller where you'd expect a massive markup. This would be in like the case of, say, a carnival selling Coca-Colas from a cooler in a stand. You know, you're not going to get them for the 30 rupees it says on the bottle. It's going to be 50, 60, 80, that sort of thing. A store where you seems like it would be reasonable to go to buy groceries, there is a maximum retail price. If you're not savvy and add up your own goods as you're shopping, so often, in every region we went, this price would somehow get higher. Sometimes it would be called a cooler fee. You know, we'd see engraved on the pop bottles is the MRP. So it would say 20 rupees for, say, plain soda, which you're going to think that I'm a weirdo, but I like plain soda a lot. So I'd buy one of those, 20 rupees everywhere. Guy would say, oh, 30 rupees. And I'd say, oh, no, maximum retail price is 20. And he'd say, a fridge fee. Popsicles, they're saying, oh, it's a freezer fee. I'm like, well, do the popsicles come as liquid? Sometimes it just wouldn't make sense. So if you hear a little bit of a of a fee tacked on that doesn't make sense, feel free to stand your ground. Or if you want, you can just pay it and move along. But at the end of the trip, with day-to-day purchases, this can really add up. So please keep in mind that the bills go up. Sometimes in restaurants, there's little bits of miscalculation. For instance, in a restaurant, you might order plain rice, but be charged for jeera rice. Plain rice is usually, say, 60 rupees, whereas jeera rice is double that because it's basmati and it's longer grain, nicer rice with maybe more fanfare added to it, more labor touch from the chefs. In this case, we did experience being upcharged for things, or sort of having mysterious amounts added onto our bills in various places, a fair amount, to be honest. We had heard it mentioned that women could be touched or interacted with inappropriately. We, of course, wanted to be optimistic, and unfortunately, Natalia did experience being grabbed at. She was groped a few times by boys who appeared to be 12 to 16, who would like run up and slap or pinch or grab and then run away. Or a group of them would walk by, one of them would do it, and then they'd all hide the other guy. So if I went to confront them, they would all just play stupid and point to another person. Adult men also did some weird shit too that outright angered us and made our jaw drop. I don't think that all Indian men are horrible, rapey, gropey people. The majority of people we encountered there were kind and generous and respected boundaries. But it is important to mention this reality for people who want to travel there, especially if you're a cis woman who could possibly read as attractive to other men. Natalia did feel like there were many places we went that she wouldn't feel comfortable traveling solo. Now, this could also be the warning for many destinations in the world, as far as I've heard, but it was notable where we were. And for some reason, especially in Jodhpur, where little creepy boys would just reach into tuk-tuks or rickshaws and to do like a grab and run. Another negative we found was with Airtel. Airtel did us a bit dirty. They canceled our phone number even after I went into 2 of their stores in various places, knowing ahead of time that my number would be canceled. You know, they were sending these messages saying, your number will be canceled if you don't XYZ. So whenever I tried to XYZ, they would insist to me, no, that won't happen. You have your visa. Let me see your visa. Show them my visa. Your visa's good for 6 months. It's not going to happen. I'm like, well, it looks pretty much like it's going to happen. I went on Reddit. I went on various places to research if anyone else had been in this position, and it all said you had to go ahead of time and arrange for your number to be extended. Every Airtel I went to said, nope, don't worry, not the case. So I recharged it. Of course, what do you know? They turned off the phone, left us high and dry on the day we were going to a remote area, Sadhana Forest. Here's a little bit more of it right here that I just took a little bit of a video of. I bought it from Airtel in Delhi.
The Delhi circle may not be able to activate here. Delhi circle, Delhi only possible, number not possible.
Why would Airtel take the money, not tell me 2 other Airtels say it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine, and then I come here and you can't do anything? In Madurai, I went before it expired.
That person don't have enough of knowledge.
You just told me you could redo
the
it.
number is totally disconnected.
The number wasn't totally disconnected. I went 2 other times to try to get it addressed, and they said because my visa goes until June, so 6 months from this point, because my visa goes all the way until June, it's wrong message, don't worry. So why does it keep getting worse every time I talk to somebody? Like you're blaming me for something that wasn't explained to me, that I asked about and tried to fix, and no one would fix it. I went to Madurai and they told me, 3 different people in there, that because my visa lasted until June, the messages were just wrong. That's not what happened. 2 other places said the exact opposite. They said, oh, if it turns off, go to a store. You've taken my money for the SIM. You've taken my money for 4 extra months of service. You're not giving me the same number. What can you do to help?
So you can't be able to do anything for the Delhi circle.
You can't call them.
Why does it keep getting worse? Now it's no number, new SIM card, new plan, and you just take all the money I already spent?
You have to physically go to Delhi to get it reconnected.
So why did you say we could reconnect the
You
number?
can't.
So circle to change is not possible. MND only possible. So they will initiate for the
But it's possible to immediately give me a new phone number. But it's not possible to phone Delhi Circle and fix it. That's all so convenient. Why doesn't anyone even say sorry here when you make a mistake? Like, you're just telling me the same thing over and over. You just told me the 48-hour thing, and now you're saying, oh, well, you're wrong anyway. It's like I'm wrong for your guys' mistake.
There you go. That doesn't show everything that we went through, but honestly, when you went to phone on their customer service line and selected English. It just put you through a never-ending labyrinth. You could never get through to anybody. You go to the store and they just basically brush you off and say, no, it's not a big deal. They didn't credit us. They made us buy a new SIM card. They made us buy new plans and have a new phone number, even after I had proactively gone and tried to phone, tried to drop in 3 different spots we went to trying to fix this issue. And honestly, when it came to it, no one cared. I even escalated it and wrote the company and got the most form letter, the most like, pardon the inconvenience. I will do my level best. Just pap. If you're buying any cell phone plan within the Delhi circle, like when you come into the airport, keep in mind if you're here in India any longer than 3 months, that number will be canceled unless you go back to Delhi and have it extended. I took a crap on Airtel a bit there and their employees who gave relatively poor customer service. Airtel clearly didn't give the stores or the employees any power to help the customer. They just simply don't care. It's a big faceless corporation. This is like huge corporations all over the world. Airtel, boo. Didn't love dealing with you. Your customer service and your faceless corporate bullshit sucks. If you aren't there longer than 3 months, just buy your cheap 28-day plan and be happy. Some other random stuff about India. When someone's in an elevator and you're waiting outside of the doors for the doors to open and that person to come out, do you think, India, that you really always should just immediately start crowding into the elevator with them before they got out? What is the deal with that? All the elevators everywhere. I'm trying to get out with a bunch of other people and everyone's just rushing in. No one can get in or out because they're all just standing in the threshold of the door. You know what would be good? Is letting everyone else out and then getting in. Must it always be chaotic? Let me know in the comments. Do you think it would work to let people out of the elevator before going in? And actually, while we're at it, does anyone there have headphones? Like if you're on the train or a bus or the plane or anywhere, do we need everybody blaring the sound on their phone within inches of each other? Is the societal norm to turn the volume down? Or is it just like, woo, free for all? Let's see how loud my stuff. Do I need to keep bringing bigger and bigger amps with me so that my volume is louder than everybody else's? Tell me in the comments, is this truly an Indian thing, or did I just go at a weird time? Some more general tips. Uber and Ola. Uber and Ola were actually really good overall. You know, where it worked in the bigger cities, you could use it to either call a taxi and generally get a taxi or a rickshaw right away. Or you could at least use it to see what a good price for the trip you're taking actually is. There's a separate thing where sometimes Uber drivers would take the trip. If you're in a busy area, they take the trip, but then they just leave you waiting. Or they'd call you and ask you where you're going because it doesn't show on their side of the app where you're going. So they'll phone and ask you and then cancel the trip because they don't want to go there or they feel like it's not enough money. While it did work in most places we used it, mostly what we used it for was to get an idea of what we should pitch the rickshaw driver or the taxi driver for the fare, and we tried to come within 25% of that price because you never got that low a price unless the driver actually took the fare. In Chennai, in Pune, in Mumbai, in Delhi, in Lucknow, in Varanasi, generally speaking, we had good luck getting drivers to stop and pick us up from Uber and Ola. It was very good. But when it was bad, it was bad. Some general stuff about transport. If you yourself are early to the train because you want to plan to be there on time, this means the train will be very late. If you're right on time, it means that the train will be very early. I hope that helps. Take screenshots of common phrases that you've needed to use in Google Translate for when you don't have internet or bad coverage. We got into the habit of this just so we could show it later if we didn't have it. And especially worked for the veganism stuff. The reason I say this is because there's so many different dialects and so many just different, full-on different languages in India that even though I had a fair amount of Hindi words and phrases, the language has changed so much that I wasn't actually able to practice any Hindi and get that good at it. I just had to keep on learning basics each place we went. And although there was a lot of English, the Google Translate feature did help avoid some issues. So now a few of your questions. Let's take some of those. Our favorite and least favorite part of the trip. Natalia has authorized me to answer on her behalf. Right, Natalia? You hear that? Her fave was the West Coast beaches on the Arabian Sea. She liked those epic hangouts with friends, those dinners, hanging out with Ritik and Vidi, hanging out with the Singhs of Punjab, hanging out with Jasbir Mandir. Just that wholesome kind of family Indian vibe. She loved that. And so did I. Her least favorite was the really hot places, and Jodhpur for how often she was groped by children and grabbed at by strange men. My favorite was the festival energy, how everyone in India is a huge history buff and just knows all this amazing local history that they cram into their identities and their general conversations, and just this vast amount of knowledge they have about which god did what and where they lived and what their region is famous for, and just all that amazing knowledge that they all carry with them in such a prideful, innocent, and sort of confident way. Even children had tons of this amazing information, so we learned a lot about India generally just from the enthusiastic retellings of local history from folks we met. I was so impressed. One of my favorite things was the sheer talent and kindness of everybody. They knew about the diasporic Indians, where they all were. They knew about every intersection of history with another country. My least favorite part of the trip, I would say I wasn't fond of dealing with certain personality types, but this isn't too out of the ordinary. I have a lot of privilege. I got a lot of just like friendly interactions and a lot of people wanting to try and help and get selfies with me and make me feel famous for absolutely no reason at all. So my experience, having a lot of fun. We didn't feel like we got a lot of scam attempts directed our way, but we were also open, but learning to be very firm. My favorite place of the trip, it's so tough to say. Obviously, Punjab was amazing for the incredible hospitality we experienced and seeing that more real village side of India. But Varanasi, I thought was incredible and moving. I still can't quite put my finger on why. Lucknow was amazing, of course, with Badam and Mambra. And obviously, and honestly, the Arabian Sea side was also one of my favorites along with Natalia, just for the feeling of freedom, the beautiful weather, the riding around on a scooter and just kind of feeling free, wind blowing on your face and all of that. So that was a real vacation feeling vibe, but also the staggering architecture I saw. I can't pick one favorite. Honestly, India's beauty was my favorite. On the flip side of that, India's chaos was also kind of a favorite of mine too. So as long as you know how to balance them and expect them to be both kind of fused together, you're going to have a great time. How we planned and how we decided on certain places. Well, Natalia loves to go on vacations, and I love to over-plan vacations. So, when I was planning, I started with a list of like 80, 100 places that I really, really wanted to see. I worked backwards from there and just kind of figured out what a strong route would be, so a way that we could keep proceeding forward and get to see potentially the most stuff, even with sickness or cancellations or unforeseen circumstances. As it turned out, we stayed mostly to the perimeter. We basically came in through Delhi, north to Kulu for Dussehra. We came all the way back down and around to the desert side through Rajasthan, and then basically just went straight down the Arabian Sea coastline, ducking in a little bit here and there, all the way down to Kanyakumari, back around on the Bay of Bengal side. It was kind of like making like a zigzag trail all the way down and across, and then we ended in the north again a little bit, and then back out through Delhi. Ours was sort of like a beginner itinerary. We made sure to cover the Golden Triangle, of course, and kind of go around the perimeter, the famous beaches, the big spots, some lesser traveled areas, and just basically try to pick spots that we liked based on the stuff we pre-researched that would be fun to see. There's no right or wrong itinerary, I don't think. There's no shortage of things that we saw, and there's no shortage of things that we missed either. So we're going to have to go back and check it out again one day. The next question is, what did we learn from India? Now, let's answer this literally first. Mainly, we learned that there is staggering diversity and complexity. It's easy to think of India as like Taj Mahal and curry and yoga and handicrafts, but it's so much more. There's Persian influences, Muslim influences, Sikh influences, the partition, the occupation, the invasions, the layers of rich, complex history, all founded by little facets of ethnic groups, of invaders, of people seeking to change the culture and then unite it and bring India together. I saw an interview where a man was describing other places like the United States as a melting pot. But he said that India is different. India is like a thali platter. Now, for those of you who don't know what a thali is, it's like 10 or 15 little cups of curries, of sauces, of soups, all on one plate with like rice and papad. So it's a mix of wildly different things that all somehow go together. And this is a perfect allegory for India. It's a wild mix of different influences that are all distinctly separate from one another. They have their own cultures, they have their own practices, but it's within this greater umbrella of Indianism that they find their identity through this facet of culture. And that is incredibly unique. I was surprised to learn under Modi, the wealth disparity between the richest and the poorest is even more extreme than what it was under British occupation at its worst point. Now, a lot of people love Modi, it seems, in India because he is a rah-rah Hindu nationalist type of guy. Now, governments and corporations are corrupt all over, and of course, India is no exception. So that remains a factor in India as well. This sort of undercurrent of Hindu nationalism that not everyone espouses as racism, but unfortunately it does come out in certain ways against Muslims and Sikhs and other people who are not Hindu. This sort of Jai Shri Ram crowd. Now, before you get mad at me, when I looked it up, and in certain areas it kind of has a Make America Great Again. It's sort of like a dog whistle for sometimes racist nationalism. Not saying everyone who says Jai Shri Ram is a racist nationalist, but it was noted there is sometimes a focus on othering people who aren't Hindu. Overall, a beautiful, diverse place in which to get to know people. Everyone was so proud of their hometowns and of their gods and of their cities or their villages' strengths, and that was beautiful to see. It's almost unimaginable as a Westerner, because we don't live our whole lives like this right directly with family. If we did, we might find that, to be a challenge in and of itself. But the fact that it's such a norm there to have your elders living with you, to have all the kids, their spouses, everyone pitching into a greater household, this was really incredible. I never saw the workings of it with the head of the household and everyone getting tasks and keeping the house going and working at their jobs and all kind of helping everyone on their goals. This was really, really cool. If there's anything else you want to know, honestly, truly, please ask me in the comments and I will answer every comment. Ask me anything. So this exit interview with India is almost over, but I want to say, what a beautiful place to exit. Really, really, truly an enchanted, mystical, historical, chaotic, and beautiful place that we will never, ever forget. And we wholeheartedly recommend, with some precautions, you go and visit there. Stay tuned, by the way, for lots more Indian content. We have Indian friends in Canada. We do Indian stuff. So we're going to want to show you stuff that's interesting to Indian folks, since so much of our viewership is Indian. For Vegan Everywhere, I'm David.